guys, thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this bracelet that uses Tilas. These are Miyuki Tilas, and they are they're the large square ones, the 5x5 by, I believe that says 1.9. So regular square Tilas, and then what I found is that you can use a few different beads for the herringbone part. So this basically starts out with a ladder stitched row of Tilas, and then you do some herringbone rows on top of that in a lengthwise. So the first thing I tried was the size 10 delicas, and that was inspired by an inspiration piece that actually came from Miyuki. So I saw that they had done a piece with just the 10-0 delicas. So this is not an 11-0 delica. This is a size 10 delica in there. And I know that's not a super common bead, so I started playing around to see what other beads would work, and I discovered that a 1.8 millimeter cube was actually really great. I mean, it came out even better, I think, just because it's just got so many color options. So I grabbed these for today for a demo because they're nice and bright, and they have a nice AB finish, and I made another palette. I have been going crazy making palettes. So each of these is a different, palette that I came up with, and then this one that I just made today has like a reflective, there's almost like a pink to it, and I put that next to this pink and thought that was just pop. And then this one is the same color that I'm going to be using in the cubes. So I grabbed that. And then I went ahead and did a complementary quad with that. So I grabbed some yellow and a turquoise. This is so spring. It almost looks like a little, it's right now when I'm filming this, it's March and it's hailing. And so I was feeling like, okay, spring, April colors, let's go with that. So here's my palette for today. What I wanted to say just real quick about different things you can use if you want to just stretch your stash is you can also use the half Tila. I believe this is the half or the quarter. I should know that, forgive me. I don't think it's the quarter, but it could be. I'm not sure. I think quarter or half would work because the thing is it's built the same way. You just ladder stitch it up, and then you do the herringbone rows on top of it. So yeah, I think basically all two of those are going to work. And this one has a different palette than this one here has a different count. So as far as like the pattern I did, some of these have as many as 5 colors. The palette I'm working today has 5 colors. So here's an example of a 5-color palette, and I just kind of did, you could do 3 or 4 in between each one. And then on some of these I did 4 colors. So there's a 4-color progression. And this one is another 5-color progression. So anything, really anything works. I think this one right here, 1, 2, 3, yeah, this is only a 4-color progression. So you see it's just got a little jump through like that. Anyway, these came out cool. Process I'm going to show you right now. It's the same for all. What's different is the way I finish them. And I went through a bunch of iterations of different finishing styles using different ideas, and I came up with a bunch, and I think the one that made the most sense and is the most repeatable are probably these two. And this one is just way easy. It's literally like pop a seed bead out, put a jump ring through it. So in this case, I think I stitched a bunch of beads on the edge, but you didn't have to do that. You could just go direct from one out to the other. So there's one way you could finish it. On this one, I just stitched a little loop, a loop of seed beads. I stitched that right out of the 2 center beads there. And on this end, I just stitched the button directly on top. So that's one way, but this one was really interesting. So I switched down to some size 11 seed beads, and I did some 2 drop single column peyote to make a little loop that attaches to the edge there. And what you'll find is the edge of this, the edge of the herringbone has up and down beads, right? So you can actually start or launch a peyote stitch segment off of it. And that's kind of what I started to play with there. And on this one, my seed beads were connected in the same way I'm going to show in the tutorial. So the one I'm featuring in the tutorial, this is the one that I thought was just the most versatile and also kind of maybe the most unique. Super easy way to do a button right here. is just jump out of there and put the button on a series of in between 4 seed beads, right? And it's from Tila to Tila there. So that's that end. And then on this end, it's just another one of my classic fold over things that I like to do. And it's a single column, 1 bead peyote stitch that just launches right off the edges here. So that's what I'm going to teach you today after we go through making the bracelet. And see, I just put some leather on there with a good old overhand knot for my button. And it's nice and strong. If you're someone who follows John Bead videos a lot, you'll know also that we launched the box caps. They are currently awaiting restock, so I didn't feature them in today's video, but I did a measurement and I found that the width of this design will fit the box caps. So that's another option, and I think when they come back in stock, I'll do a reprise of this video showing finishing with those, because that'll be kind of cool. But I just wanted to release something today that you can get your hands on. So everybody's got a button, and everybody can find some leather. So here we go. All right, let's just jump in. And first thing I'm going to do is get my beads ready. And as far as thread, let me introduce the PDF that you can download in the description. You'll want to use something like a Fireliner Wildfire, something in the 6 pound or 0.006 range, something like that. Size 11 beading needle. The leather I used was 1.5 millimeters. I think that is open, like you could do a smaller or bigger leather would be fine. And of course, Tila colors. I'm going with 5 different colors in this case, and I'm going with 1 color of Miyuki cubes. And like I was saying before, you can use a Tenno Delica, use cubes like I'm doing. I also did some measuring. I haven't stitched one up yet. I will do, but a Toho 11-0 and a 10-0 Delica, they are not far from each other in size. They're pretty close. Now, I did do a test with Miyuki 11-0 and took it apart. It didn't work. It was bringing the Tilas too close together when they were layering on top of each other. You know, they were doing this side by side thing where one sits behind the other because it just wasn't wide enough. So you need something that's about seed bead size, 1.8 millimeters or so in the measurements. So that's what you're going for. So something like that. But it'll work. I always say just try your seed beads, see if it works. Make a sample that's like 4, 5, 6 beads long, doing the step we're going to do here. And then when you create your row, you can just test it there. You only need to test it with like 4 or 5 beads and you know whether or not it's going to work. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so here you go. One cool thing to say about this design is it really doesn't use that many Tilas. And if you're working with more colors, it'll go even further. These tubes of 22 grams that I'm working with, these are going to go a long way. I think you'll get at least a few pieces or more. I haven't done a count myself, but if I had to make a guess, I would say I could probably make 4 bracelets minimum with the materials that I was showing at the beginning. So they'll go a long way. I wasn't sure 100% what I want to do for a pattern, but I think what I'm going to do is stick as close as I can to something like this. So usually what I'll do is I'll do a repeat of either 2, 3, or 4, depending on how many I have for my middle color. And since I have so many colors going here for my middle, so I have 4 colors, I know I'm going to probably want to do maybe go from turquoise to pink to this one to the yellow is my middle color maybe, and then go back to I'm not sure, so we'll figure it out. So I think I'm going to start with 2 of this as my base color, and that'll be my spacer color, and then I'll probably get about I'm aiming for about 6 inches, so 31 Tilas, if you ladder those out, it will give you about 6 inches. All right, so pick up 2 Tilas and just get those, you know, both. There's 2 holes in a Tila in case anyone's new to those 2 holes. And what I usually do is string the first 2, just like that. Slide it down, leave about 12 inches of tail. You're going to use that side you could use it for your button if you don't have enough working thread left. When you get back to this side, I'll explain that, but just in case you need it, about 12 inches. And you will be adding thread, so just cut a comfortable length, whatever's good for you as far as working with thread that's not too long. So I've got these on there. And I'm going to go back through the first Tila, same hole, and go through that so that what we're going for is it makes this circle, see? To start to come together like that. So this is the ladder stitch, just starting out. And there you go. And they do pop right next to each other really nicely, just like that. All right, and so then I'm going to make a step and go through the second hole of the Tila bead and pull tight. And then if you want, you can weave your tail through and then through just to get it out of the way in one side and get your working side free. And so I'm going to grab my next bead, my next Tila bead here, go back through, and they pop side by side. This right here is cool even by itself as jewelry. In fact, I wonder if there isn't already patterns out there that show lots of different inspiration for, like, you know, mosaic counts to make them kind of just go in a row like that. And I've just been trying to tighten that side there. So the cool thing is, if you're not, you know, I notice I've got a gap right there. See, it's kind of bugging me. It's not a lot, but just enough. We go back through this when we do the herringbone row, so we're not stuck with it not matching right now. All right, so I'm through that, and I need to do a step up through this one. And let's go to the next color. So you see, we're just laddering. And I always keep forgetting to do my step up. It just happens every time. But you need to be exiting from the outside hole after you join the last one. Now I can add my new bead. And then I'll possibly do that sometimes, just kind of help it go back into that circle shape, pull tight. That looks cool, look at that. And then that pop of yellow right in the middle. So see, from where I am here, I need to go back through this one, which is the first hole of the new Tila that I just added. So right there. And before I pull it super, super tight, I'm just gonna get the bottom tight again. There we go. And here's the step up. All right, here's the pop of yellow. New bead. Can you guys hear the hail? It's hailing out there. All right, almost to one full repeat. I got one more bead to go here. Okay, so there's one example of a pattern you could do. You can do anything you want, really. It's just, you know, the sky's the limit. And if I repeat this pattern out, what I'll do is I'll start with just spacing it by 2. So I'll put 2 more white beads, repeat this again, I'll do 2 more white beads and repeat this again. And I think that'll give me a length that's good for me. But if I need to add, I can always have the starting and ending segment have a little more extra of the luster white. So let's see how it measures up. All right, here we go. So I finished all of that pattern. I just stitched it right out, following that same convention. So it's 3 repeats, and then it ends with another extra 2 of my main color. And in this case, it's just a little under 6. So if you need it to be 6 inches, just add another couple of beads on either side. It'll be closer to it. So you could have 1 bead here, 1 bead there. I'm gonna give you the full 6-inch measurement. And just keeping in mind that the way it is finished is gonna add length. So, and it can add length in a way that could be adjustable. So what'll happen is you'll have, the button will put a little bit of space there, and then you'll have the leather putting a little space on that side. Okay, so get the cubes ready. And then pick up 2 cubes. So just 2 of those. So we're switching to herringbone stitch now. And then just take a look at the edge here. See how there's 2 holes? So 2 beads. And go back down through the second hole of the Tila, and that will create your first little pop of herringbone stitch. Here's the next one. One more. So each time I'm picking up 2 beads and then going down through the next hole in the Tila bead. So here's, come up to the next one. See, just like that. And then pick up 2 beads. Come down through the next hole in the Tila. So just like that. So keep going, adding those beads all the way to the end, just like that. And I think that at that point I'll be close to running low on thread. Ladder stitching is really, it's really thread hungry, so I'm just gonna get as far as I can, and then I'm gonna show adding thread as well. All right, and so I got about that far. So that's with a whole wingspan of thread. And of course I left a 12-inch tail at the beginning, so, but you see you'll get about that far, and then it'll be time to add thread if you're doing about 60 inches or so, and about the same length as me. So easy to add thread though. So all you gotta do is just somewhere back in the work. Oh, and I left my old strand in place for now. I'll just weave that into something new when I have something new to weave it up into. I always just leave my old working thread where it was. And then here, I'm gonna just go through some beads. So bring it in. I cut out an extra long one, so I won't have to add again, but there we go. So leave a little bit so that you can test if it's moving or not. And actually, what I think I'll do is go down through the Tila bead. There we go. Lots of little strands going everywhere here. So far, all I'm really doing is following that herringbone path, but I want to have a little tighter turns. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up through a Tila here. It's just one example of a turn you could do. Pull that through. And then just like when you were laddering, just come back down through the Tila itself. So we're not going through the cubes at this time. And this is just to get a nice tight turn. So just to show you what I mean, like let's test it. Let's give a pull and see what happens to the tail right here. And I can move it a little. So let's keep going. It is getting tighter though. I'm going to do another just a Tila only turn. See, just like that. There we go. And so all the while I've been heading towards where I left off. And this is not moving anymore. So I'm just going to pull on it and show you that that is pretty tight. So I can cut that. And what I'm going to do next is just keep going down through. Let's get this out of the way. Just to get to the same spot where my thread is left off. Okay, so new thread, old thread. And again, I'm just going to leave this in place while I work, but I am going to trim this one. All right, so that's how you add thread if you ever need to. And that can work anytime during this process when we're making the rest of the bracelet. If you run out again, you can always add more. So let's just finish herringbone all the way to the end. I'm going to just work all the way to the side here. Here we go to the last one here. And the tail thread might be hanging out in your way, so just kind of move it so it's not going to get tangled. Last bead, or last column. And just down through the last Tila here. All right. So that's the end of the first row of herringbone. And all you got to do is, okay, so from this point on, your goal is to get up here so you can start building another row, right? But we're kind of stuck. We're at the bottom of a Tila here. So what I've been doing to get around this and get my thread turned is I just go ahead and find the thread bridge, the one that joins this Tila to the one before it, and I just go under it. So just right there. Bring the thread all the way through. And so just right under there. And then make a turn this way. Come back up through the same hole. Go ahead and carry on through the cube bead above. Just like that. And now we're ready to start the row back. Really quickly though, I'm going to do the same thing I showed you earlier. I'm going to throw my needle on the old working thread that I had, and I'm going to work it in this direction just to move it out of my way. All right, so old working thread all woven in, and over here I still have a tail hanging out. And I'm not sure if I'll need it, but just in case I do, I'm going to leave it just hanging out here. And so with the working thread, I'm going to start building another row of herringbone right on top of this one. So you just want to pick up 2 beads. You go down through that second cube. Help them out if you need to. They should sit just like that. And then so down through that cube right there, right? So up through the next one. And I'm just going to flip my work. It's a little easier to work in that direction. So far, so good. Let's get the next one. Here's the next column. So just 2 beads. So just like that. So just like that. You'll have to help them sometimes, each one. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat what I've been doing here to the end over here. All right, so there's the last one. Two beads. And you just want to go down through the bead like that. So the next thing you want to do is step up, and the step ups are really easy to do. All you need to do is just go ahead and go through the last bead we added. So that looks like this. You just want to come up and go right through that bead. And the thread will show a little bit on the side, but if you match your thread color, it's not too dramatic. And depending on how we're finishing it, the way we're finishing it, it actually covers it up. So on one side, you're gonna have a button, so you're not gonna see those little step ups. And in addition, you have a little ring of seed beads. And on this side, we're actually gonna build more beads off of it. So there's only one little spot where it's a little bit visible, see? But it's okay. So if you really, really, really don't like the step up and you want to turn, you can always just continue through your Tila and use the thread bridge down there as a way to turn your thread and come back up. And you can do that after every row if you'd like, but I've been doing my step ups the thread show way. So either way, whichever you like. So go ahead and finish the row back this way and another row back this way. So I'm just stopping here, one row over. I still have this row to finish here, so just going down through that bead. There we go. And I just wanted to show the step up one more time on this side. From where I am right here, here's the step up. Okay. And so I'm going to work one more row all the way back over here. All right, so we just need to finish our Tila row now. So we're going to add a Tila on top of each of these herringbone columns. Really easy to do. You want to just grab your first Tila bead and just bring it on right there. I'm going to go up through the bead, one side like that, down through the other hole. And when you do that, continue through the bead below. There we go. Come up through the next cube. And then get the next Tila bead. Slide that down. And then just take a really quick look at what we've got going here. So just like that. And what we're gonna do now is ladder back through the former Tila. So just go back through this bead here. Just like that. And you'll get something that looks a little bit like this. So we're just exiting from the Tila bead right here. And I'm going to come up through the one we just added and pull tight. And so this is what happens when you do that. You just get a nice little side-by-side pop. And I'm sorry guys, the light is changing again. 1 second. Oh goodness. It was hailing earlier, so I opened my window because it was dark, and now I've got bright light. Okay, there we go. All right, so we've got this bead on here, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn through the second hole of that Tila bead. See, just like that. Carry on through the cube below it. That adds the second one and completes that little turn right here to the next one. All right. And then I need my next bead. String that on and slide it down. So same thing, we're going to go back through the last one. So just like that, see? And through the other hole. Continue through the cube. Okay, next bead. Bring the next bead on. Slide it down. Just like that. Go down through just the Tila bead right here. So when you're laddering, it's just the Tila, just like that. See? And then up through that one again. And you'll get that. And then just turn through the turn through the next side. Sorry about that. Couldn't quite get that one through. There we go. And up. Okay, so that's all there is to it. You just keep adding beads like that. And I'm going to do that through to the other side, and then I'm going to show finishing. All right, here we go. So all the way to the end. And I've got one bead left to go. So let's put that bead on together. Okay, so for this next step, you can turn and go down through all the beads. So there we go. So there's the starting side all set. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and use my tail thread to do my button attachment. And I'm going to weave in the rest of my working thread over here. But if you wanted to use your working thread and stuff the tail, of course you could do another one of those little turns and then get your thread to exit from one of the Tilas. You just need to be exiting from a Tila over here or over here, just one side. Okay, so I finished weaving in the rest of my working thread, and then I moved over and put a needle on my tail side. So this was the tail thread we left at the beginning. And now I'm going to pick up a few cubes. So let's get 2 cubes. So there's 2 of those. Slide that down so that it meets right there. And I found a button that I really liked. I'm going to go with that. Use any button you want. And also, I forgot to mention, but you could just attach a clasp this way if you didn't want to do a button closure, and it would save you having to do all the work we're going to do over here next. So if you like this and you just want to put a toggle here right now, especially if you have like a closed jump ring, yeah, go for that. That's totally a great way to finish your work. And so here's 2 more. And then just go through the Tila bead. See, right there. And here's what'll happen. Your button and or clasp, if you wanted to do a clasp like this, will just sit right like that. So we're going to want to reinforce that. So I'm going to needle under the thread bridge over here. Just right there. And then I'm going to come back through the Tila bead. Okay, and then weave through the 2 cubes, the button shank, and the 2 cubes. So I was able to get through those. And then, I don't want to break my bead, so I'm just going to go through the cube for now. And then through the Tila. There we go. So that's pretty much all you got to do, and the button will have the option of being on either side. It flips back and forth like that. It's pretty cool. I'm going to do one more turn here. There we go. There we go. Got through those. Through the Tila bead. So there's 3 passes. That's pretty good. Got 3 passes through that. So go ahead and weave in. And for weaving in, you can take any thread path you'd like. I'm just going to do that really quick. There it is. All right, so all woven in, and you have this nice little button attachment. So that's easy peasy, that's done. Back here at the starting side, grab the remaining thread you had from before, and I tucked away what I had left of my working thread. I had to actually add thread one time when I was doing these herringbone rows, and so I added a little too much, so I actually have a lot here. I'm going to use that to do the attachment on this side. So the first thing you want to do is just weave in, and I'm going to bring the handout over just really quick. I want to show in the handout what we're going to do so that it makes a little bit more sense. It'll be easier to see. Okay, so there's that page, there's that one. Okay, so bringing in a new strand, and I'm going to weave around more than is shown here just to get it to lock. But the goal would be to exit from a bottom cube. And you notice how when you do herringbone, you have, they're facing this way on top of a bead, and in this case it's facing this way under a bead. That's how you can tell top versus bottom. You want to be exiting from one of the ones where they're like this on top of the Tila. So over here for us, just taking a look at that, that's this bead right here. So we want to weave to exit coming out of the bottom of this bead. So I'm just going to bring my strand in. Pick a spot, any spot. And I'm going to use the same convention that we were using before for getting a good weave in. So just weave around until this part stops moving. And there we go. So again, I've woven to exit from the bottom cube there. And again, it's the one where They're facing up like this on top of the Tila, very bottom one. And that's important. You don't want to be exiting from the bead up here facing that way. That one won't work. You want to be in between the Tila, bottom cube, that's kind of fanning out like that. Okay, so once you're there, you want to pick up one cube. So I got that one cube right here. And go up through the cube above it. So this one right here. It'll stick like that, just like sticky outy. Pick up another cube. Turn. Go back through the, whoops, let me bring that back up. Sorry about that, I dropped it. Okay. And then one more cube. Go back through this one. So that's the one we just added. I'm just gonna go back through it. And put your thumb kind of underneath the new bead and pull. So now we're doing single column peyote suddenly, just like that. I'm gonna add a total of 14. So there's 2 that I just added. Here's 3. See? 4. So just keep going like that until you've added a total of 14. Go ahead and before I fold it over, I'm going to show you where we're headed. So in the directions, I did an illustration in the directions that shows it flattened out so you can see what bead you're like exiting and going into. So right now we're exiting from that bead. And we're going to go into the 5th bead here. So count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the first one above the 3rd Tila. We're going to go up through that bead. After we go up through that bead, it's going to be hard to see what's happening because it's going to fold over. But we're going to be exiting from that bead, from the top. We're going to go through the up bead here. See this one? Go through that up bead. And when you do that, you'll have completed the join. And then I'll go back down through this bead to make a circular connection there. From there, we'll just weave in to strengthen it. So that looks like this over here. We're going to take this and we're going to connect it to the 5th bead in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you'll have to help it kind of fold over. See, just like that. And I made it a little bit long because the cubes, they're not as flexible as like a round seed bead. So to get a leather under it, I felt like I needed more space, but that's not set in stone. So if you feel like it could be shorter, go shorter, but I just kind of went with that. And the length of that tab, I mean, being so long. So you see how this one, this bead here, we went through that one. So you want to go through now the up bead here. See that one? And this is where you want to be a little bit tight tension. Make sure everything's not getting tangled. Okay, so I'm going to hold the beads and I'm going to pull pretty tightly. So what you should see is that connection get made right there. And then this bead is here. And you can't see it because it's under everything. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go through, this bead. Right? So we've exited from here. And this is actually laying on top of that now. And we're going to go down through that way. And you'll probably find it easier to do that and have it just like poke through right at the back, okay? That'll help. So that's nice and secured. And then you can come over here and weave around. So what I actually did is I went down through the 5th bead again. So down through this one. Then I went through so I could just get back over to the front here. Just go this way. Just gonna get myself back on this side. So this is the one we originally connected to, right? This is that 5th bead again. And now I'm just reinforcing what we did before. So coming back through that bead, and I'm not going to be able to see well enough to get through the same bead we went through, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this now. Go through here, and go through here. So that just made all that, oops, sorry, made all that stronger. Here we go. I'm still weaving around. And I'm using the band now as a place to weave around and make it stronger. So keep going like this. I'm going to keep going through the beads. Then this is just going through, in peyote stitch, you know how when you go through a bead, like where I am right here, you can choose to go through that bead or through that bead. I've been choosing to go through the one that's headed in the direction of the end in every case when I do this little turn. And when you get back over here, reinforce this right here. See what I'm kind of doing there? I'm just making it stronger. And now I can weave in. So from here, I'm just gonna go weave around in here and then trim it. Ta-da! All right, so we've got our, this is the top and this is the bottom here. So I'm just gonna lay this right here for just a second and let's get some leather. So I'm gonna go for about 9 inches here. There we go. Truth be told, guys, I wing this and eyeball it. I don't even measure, but trying to be more precise. Okay. So bring that leather underneath. You can see that tightness of that connection. That's why I made it so long. I made it really short before and it didn't work, so that's one of the reasons I did that. So I'm just bringing that through, just like that. Let's do one overhand knot that's going to sit closer to the bottom. There we go. And then just kind of help it stay right down here. There we go. So just get it, you know, kind of like that. And then my button is not very big, so I only need about yay much. So I've got a little extra room. Some buttons are bigger. The other one I did, you definitely would need those full 9 inches. This one you could have got away with 7. But see how tricky it is to get that second knot through? If it's really short, it's kind of frustrating, so extra is okay. Let's slide that down a little bit. If you know how to do more fancy knots, I would say go for it. And there we go. So I think this is gonna lock Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, it's going to go on fine. There we go. So here's the other one. And then I just went crazy with colorways, guys. You can do all kinds of colors. Lots of stuff you can do. Sky's the limit. A little bigger button here. There they are. Oh yes, and once again, you can get the PDF in the description. I'm going to put a link there for that. And so wish you happy beading, and see you next time.